So imagine it's the 80s and you're putting together a movie about an immortal Scottish warrior, and you manage to cast Sean Connery as an Egyptian pretending to be a Spaniard, and you give the titular role of Scottish Highlander to a Frenchman whose accent is about as thick as Gerard Depardieu's. That will, of course, be the Highlander, the first of 3 movies in a little triple feature of Sean Connery films I'd like to recommend that are not more recent fare, or if you can call them recent anymore, like The Rock or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, or, of course, the old standby go-to of recommending his James Bond movies. I'm instead going to go with 3 different Sean Connery films, one good, fun movie, one really obscure, weird, artsy film that's not necessarily for everyone, and the third one is a highly underrated but very high quality movie. So the first one, obviously, I've chosen is The Highlander, and even though Sean Connery is not the starring role, he is one of the 2 people who completely steal the show in this film. Highly worth watching. It's a great character, despite how confusing it is that a man with an accent that's very definitively Scottish is playing a Spaniard named Ramirez opposite a guy who's supposed to be Scottish who does not in the least bit sound Scottish. So, yeah. There's that. Ignore all the sequels. Ignore the television show. Just watch the first original, The Highlander. In spite all of its odd choices, it turns out to be a really excellent, moving fantasy epic. And also, coincidentally, led to possibly, one of Queen's best rock albums and Some Kind of Magic. So it's got that going for it too. Really excellent rock and sound score done by Queen with a lot of original songs. So definitely worth checking out. Anyway, next up, for something really weird that is not necessarily for everyone, I'm going to recommend Zardoz. Now, this movie has a little bit of infamy. You probably can find quite a few YouTube reviews dissecting it for its oddities. It's low budget, and it's not for people with very literal mindsets, I would say. It's very interpretive, a lot of heavy metaphor in terms of how the filming is used and showing how things operate. It's a movie from the 70s where they're trying to depict a post-apocalyptic future that's being run from behind the scenes by colonies of super psychics with some sort of a crystalline supercomputer that connects them all together. It's worth watching, but you have to have an open mind to it. And if that's not your thing, I would recommend just skipping over it entirely. So don't worry about it. The last thing I want to bring up is The Name of the Rose. It's from 1986. Sean Connery plays a monk. It's in the Middle Ages. It's all set at a monastery, I want to say in northern Italy. It's based off a really excellent novel by Umberto Eco. There is, if you're a bibliophile of any sort, there's a lot to appreciate in the story because a lot of it's about books and the love of books. There's also a satanic mystery, murder mystery going on, and some really excellent depictions of the Inquisition and medieval life, and it's worth your time. Of all 3 of these, this is the one I recommend the most. So definitely check it out. The Name of the Rose. I will leave links to all of these movies in the description box below. You can view them on Amazon. They might have them on Netflix, but I don't use Netflix personally, so I can't vouch for that. But I know they're available on Amazon to at least rent. So anyway, thank you, and like and subscribe.